Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Yahlia. In this incarnation, I am here today to talk about the full moon in Aries that we are going to have on October 7th in the degree 14 with 8 minutes of Aries. So people that have angular cardinal signs in angular houses, Capricorn, Libra, Cancer, Aries, of course. And planets close to this mathematical degree, they are going to feel this full moon in a more powerful way. So this event is culminating a cycle that started in March with the partial solar eclipse in this sign. It was the last one and is eliminating aspects that we have acquired as part of our identity and that perhaps it is moment to let go of. But also other aspects that are part of who we are and of what we came here to do. That we have to reaffirm and develop. So full moons bring conclusions, closures, but also Aries is an energy of beginnings, of opening ways. So could be, the closures that they are given through these new beginnings, and also cuts and determinant decisions. Yesterday, I was saying that anger, the frustration are going to be the way that we can measure what we need to, what needs to circulate, giving a space to certain things that we didn't give a space before, but also that inner voice that we are rejecting, that we are not listening, or the boundaries that we are not putting. Aries symbolizes our identity and the way that we are using our force of self-affirmation, the aggressiveness, because in this plane, we're experimenting the illusion of fragmentation. Therefore, there is a separation, an independence that are necessary to integrate as part of the path to unity that symbolizes Pisces, where the zodiacal wheel closes. So, this process that experiments the human being that initially, in the uterus, the human being is depending on the mother. It is united to the mother, but while, we are growing after we are born, we have to generate this individual will separated from our parents in order to develop ourselves and to grow as individuals. And in the practice, according to the imbalances that we have experimented in that initial relationship with our parents, with the mother and the father, there is not a perfect relationship, and there is no perfect human being, but there are different levels of imbalance that each one of us have experimented, and those generated certain conditionings that were produced in order to survive. And also the experiences that each one of us transited, whether they were, painful or happy. All of that conformed our personality and the ways that we act and the ways that we decide. All of this, is part of the process that the soul chooses to live in this plane where we initially forget about our spiritual nature. And it is part of the development of the soul, transiting what we are transiting to turn ourselves more conscious, to know ourselves and to know the functioning of the cosmos through different experiences. But it is also necessary in this path to produce the disidentification of the character that we have incarnated in order to grow spiritually. And this is a process that at the same time, it is liberating, could also be painful. And for you to understand, we are not seeking in here to get rid of the ego, because while we are here, we are going to continue to use this identity until the last minute. And actually, this identity has a function that is also a key to reveal. But it is more an understanding when it's moment to let go of something that worked for that survival, and that right now has turned into a limitant for that more authentic part of ourselves can be expressed. The original being, a dimension that is united to this sacred spark that is part of the infinite source that is, containing everything. And what happens is that many times we are attaching ourselves to those ways of being because they have protected us and because they have built areas of our lives. So when there comes this moment that we have to let go of something in us, That could also imply having to let go of something that was related to that on the external. So we have to produce the separation or the independence of those experiences, people, spaces to grow. Also, this full moon is speaking to us of a resignification of what was painful, of the things that we believed made us incapable of being loved, accepted, enough. And, of taking those experiences that perhaps left fears or insecurities to begin to see the capacities and potentials that we can generate or that we have generated through them, with the square with Jupiter in Cancer and Chiron retrograde in Aries, which is the first one of a series of three. I'm not going to enter in the detail right now. For example, people that we had, parents with narcissistic, I don't know the expression right now in English, narcissistic parents, or psychopathic ones. People that have grown in that kind of environment, they have, this long path of recognition of what love is and what is operating in a distortion of that. They have this, they have to make this recognition of who they are behind, what was told that it was wrong in them. But when these people can really open their path and discover their strength and use their aggressiveness in a balanced way, as much as putting boundaries, as expressing themselves and being themselves, the level of empathy and the sensitivity that they can develop towards the other people and of resilience that many of them already develop, it is very healing, not only for themselves but for others. And well, we can apply this example to every circumstance, because in every difficulty we can actually extract light. So this is about observing what happened, in this Chironian experience as a bridge to generate that growth for oneself and for others. And also this calls us to inhabit a balance, because the sun is in Libra. There is no full moon in Aries without sun in Libra. And the balance, it is, linked with believing that we have to do everything alone, that we have to be able to do everything, or staying on the other side, like ceding our vital force to the sadness and the despair, and believing that we depend constantly on other people, to turn that into that healthy vulnerability that allows us to rise and to trust and to move forward, and also to ask for help when it is necessary. Or denying and repressing the pain that we have transited, and losing ourselves in victimization, so we can turn that into a recognition, a validation of the damage or the situations that were complex for us to assimilate, and to choose right now from this more conscious space who we want to be and how we want to how we want to drive our path, because we could spend our entire lives, blaming someone or something on the outside, blaming them for the things that are hurting in us, but also, the other side, the other polarity, denying the things that happen to us, many times are not allowing to exercise a certain defense of our space. Defense, which is something also related to Aries, it is not to return to other person their own imbalance. It is, in some situations, not allowing dynamics in which others are not respecting and ourselves, and we are not respecting ourselves by sustaining them. It is about saying what we have to say, establishing the boundaries, or retiring if we need so. But also there are many other circumstances in which the best defense is not giving time, energy, or attention. So I'm saying this because the regent of this event is Mars, which is right now in Scorpio. Also, Mercury is going to be in Scorpio by that moment, creating an exact square with Pluto, the same one that the last week made Mars, that is a stationary, about to be direct in Aquarius. So it is a Pluto with much strength. Therefore, we could see this in manifestations of collective movements, revolutions, people, claiming that they are not agreeing with how, certain ways of power are being managed. So this full moon is inviting us to the depths of what is moving us to take certain directions in our lives, to act in certain ways, to eliminate what is in shadow, what is unconscious, to see behind the inertia that many times lead us to act once and again from the control, from the fear, from wanting to possess, from wanting to win by draining our energy, or from the attachment, that is to what is not having a function right now in our experience, at least an evolutionary one. Even the attachment to certain ways of pain and suffering, because one thing is to go through that as part of the liberation, and the other one is to attaching ourselves to the perception to observe everything through that dark crystal. That is also a way of protecting ourselves, curiously, but if I am always expecting the worst, I am prepared for that. But also, we are configuring our own experience to not go beyond what we already know, and with the consequence of feeling frustrating anger, of not allowing ourselves to live. So this square between Mercury and Pluto could, expose hidden information, but also could be a moment where we communicate something that we were keeping that needs to be expressed. Could be receiving news or having conversations that are transforming our reality. Also could be, discussions, conflict, and manipulations, so we can see that and retire the power to those dynamics. And as I said, this comes from the last week, and could be dealing with situations that are putting a pressure to face the path connecting with our inner force. But also, this could be linked with dealing with decisions for some people that are making them to face their fears, or they have to transform the sensation of powerlessness in the face of certain circumstances, so they can turn that into power, the power of the consciousness, the power of moving forward. So with this, there are circumstances that certainly are going to ask for a cut, in the Mars in Scorpio style, precise, without violence, but determinant. And Mercury in Scorpio is also in conjunction with Uranus retrograde in Gemini, and Saturn retrograde in Pisces, Neptune retrograde in Aries. Therefore, it is very important to focus ourselves to not losing in distractions, focus certain focuses that are not collaborating, illusions, expectations of reality, and that are far away of reality, or lack of boundaries that could emerge as a way of, evading from the experience. And well, of this aspect, I'm going to expand later, because Venus in Virgo right now, this week, is going through this cleansing together with the South Node, and it is going to make a sextile in first place with Jupiter in Cancer, but also it is beginning to activate the cosmic guide that was part of the Virgo eclipse and also of the equinox. So changes are presenting in relationships, regarding the way that we generate resources. They are calling us to a dissolution of all the ways of relating with other people, or of moving forward towards our desires. And with the opposition with Saturn, it could be, that we are dealing with certain limitations or challenges. Could be also symptoms in the physical body, because we are talking about Virgo. So we can manage better the use of our energy, so we can learn to focus that in spaces that actually are consolidating good things for us, and to limit other areas, and to dissolve illusions away of reality, which is Neptune. At the same time, with the sextile with Jupiter in Cancer, this is implying an opportunity of growth, very related to learn to nourish ourselves, and also nourishing other people emotionally, to take care of what is truly important for us, to give a space to what represents a basis for the next times. And well, at last, this I'm going to talk short too, sorry. I'm talking about the trine with Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn retrograde in Pisces and Neptune retrograde in Aries. This also responds to a process of long distance, especially with Saturn. You know, this is not going to be exact in mathematical degrees, but the important thing is it is that it's going to be on track for the rest of 2025. And many people don't know, but we have experimented tensions before between Jupiter and Saturn in August and December of 2024. We had other one in June of 2025. And that's why I was saying that the energies of this weekend, actually of October, you know, and the rest of 2025 are, you know, developing an important growth. This is an opportunity, you know, these trends of building dreams on Earth. But also with Saturn and Neptune turning back to Pisces, things are going to be dissolved. The things that are not respond to those dreams, the things that are more linked with illusions, escapisms of the ego. And while those old forms are falling, new opportunities to generate an expansion are presenting, but from a much more connected space, you know, and a space much more connected with our own souls. So I am going to end this video here. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.